Okay, crew. We have wireless. 2 on the same side. Yeah, let's even it out. Meredith.
Joe obviously used Nuno a lot yesterday, so you knew he wasn't going to be available for the next couple of days. But what led to you optioning Romine and bringing up Green?
Well, we felt at this time, with the stretch they were in, we could use 13 pitchers. And Greeny had thrown aside on, today's Wednesday?
Yeah.
Monday, so we knew he wasn't available till today, so that's why we waited till today.
How much did you like? You talked yesterday about bringing up another lefty in Cabral, but keeping 3 lefties, knowing who you have coming to town.
Well, you know, I think it's important that we have those options when we need them, and you can be a little bit more situational because of that, and hopefully that helps us out.
When do you foresee Vidal being available again, and how do you foresee yourself using Green?
Today is Wednesday, so maybe Saturday at the earliest.
And with Tanaka, what did you see from him in his last start that leads you to believe he's going to be able to have continued success here at the big league level?
Well, I mean, you look how it started, and he found himself. He struggled a little bit early on. I think he gave up 1 in the first and 2 in the second, maybe. And then he really seemed to settle down, and I thought he made adjustments, and I think that's important. And you have to see what hitters are doing to you, and I thought he made some good adjustments and got some important outs.
Andy,
Joe, so far, how do you feel that you and your players have gotten to know Tanaka just as a person, as a guy, despite the language barrier and despite the fact you haven't known him for very long? What kind of feel do you have for him at this point?
Pretty good. You know, he seems to fit right in. He needles people. I've seen some of that. I've seen him smile. I've seen him laugh. I think he's fit in really well, and I think he's been a really good teammate.
Kenny.
Joe, Cervelli's been in the organization and around the big league team for a long time, obviously not continuously. But what does it mean to have a bench player with that kind of institutional knowledge?
Well, I think it's important that your bench players have a good feel of different things that they're capable of doing and how they can help and be prepared for different situations. And when you have guys that have been around a while, they have an idea how you'll use them. They have an idea that, you know, that maybe you should do a little bit, sometimes more than even the manager asks. You know, I would see him taking ground balls all the time and saw that he was proficient, which gave me the idea to put him at first base. So I think it's important.
Anthony.
So do you think Tanaka will maybe be a little more looking forward to the first Yankee Stadium start versus his first season start? Do you know?
Do I know how he'll react? No, I don't.
Do you know if I'm wording this poorly. Let me try to start over.
Okay.
Do you think his first Yankee Stadium start will mean perhaps even more to him than his first season start?
You know, I would think it would be your first start ever as a player in the big leagues is probably the one that's going to mean the most. But I think this will mean a lot to him. You know, it's hard for me to say that because my first big league start was in a home stadium. So I don't know, but I'm sure he's been looking forward to this day pretty much too.
The back, Laura.
Joe, back here. What do you think the fans are going to do for their response when they see him for the first time here? And getting to know him now, do you think he's prepared for the pressure and the spotlight that comes here in the Bronx?
Well, I think it's probably a little bit too early to tell that. Obviously, he's pitched in big games, not necessarily here, but in his country. And there's been a lot expected on him and put on his shoulders over the years over there. So I don't think that's something new. I always talk about players trying to prove themselves and how they adjust to New York can be difficult. But so far, I think his adjustment has been really good. And we'll just continue to watch him.
Sweeney.
Joe, does not having a third catcher impact your ability to play Cervelli at first?
A little bit. You'd be more apt to leave him in there the whole game if you did that.
But it won't keep you from doing it.
I don't think so completely.
Okay. You mentioned the 2 lefties you still have coming up here.
Yeah, we'll see. You know, I have a feeling that Cervi's going to catch one of those, and then we'll go from there.
Andy.
Does the unfamiliarity with Tanaka on the part of opponents give you an advantage, you think, early in the season? Or is there enough video from his work in Japan that offsets that a little bit, perhaps?
I think video tells you what a guy's got, but it doesn't tell you how you see it. You can go over scouting reports all day long, and you can say the guy throws 89 to 92. Well, is it a sneaky 92? Does it get on you quicker? Do you see a split? So I think I've always felt that if someone hasn't seen a pitcher, they have a slight advantage. But the bottom line is you got to make your pitches.
Mark.
Joe, I know you don't. Excuse me. I know you don't like to look ahead, but humor me for a minute.
Okay.
Tomorrow, Pineda going against the Red Sox. I know you liked what you saw the first time out. What are you looking for him in the game? It's for his first real experience in this rivalry.
Just to continue to do what he's been doing. Don't try to do too much. Don't get caught up in the moment tomorrow. And that's easier said than done, especially for a young player that hasn't been through it before and has only pitched in Yankee Stadium as a visitor. I don't even know if he's pitched here as a visitor. The big thing is just do what you're doing. Don't try to do too much tomorrow, and that should be good enough.
As far as Ellsbury goes, what do you think is going to go through his mind being out there in a real game against the Red Sox for the first time?
I think it'll be interesting for him. My thought process is that it will be a little bit more interesting when we go there. He'll have a lot more people that are happy that he's here than when maybe we go there.
Joe, Ellsbury and Beltran have gotten off to good starts, but McCann hasn't really at the plate yet. What are you seeing out of him? And obviously, you haven't managed him for very long, but any sign of concern? Just no extra base hits yet?
No, there's no sign of concern. As far as what I see, I feel like his timing's a little bit off. It seems like at times he's been a little bit late, but he'll fix that. I'm not worried about that.
As a catcher, he spent so much time in the spring with the pitchers, learning them. Do you think that might have had an impact on?
No, because I thought he swung the bat great in spring training. So it's just a guy that's gotten off to a little bit of a slow start.
Joe, I'll ask your indulgence to keep your eye on one more question for tomorrow. But how would you describe the Red Sox and the Yankees and where they exist together in 2014, and how has that evolved since you first came here as a player?
Well, I think it's two teams that are expected to win every year. And how has that changed since I came here as a player? Probably not a whole lot. I think that there's always been an intense rivalry. I think meeting in the playoffs in the 2000s has probably increased that a little bit in some of the games that they went through. Some of the people have been around a long time during those rivalries, on our side and their side. So I think there's a lot of history to this group, and I think it's pretty good.
Joe, against the wall.
Going on Ellsbury's hot start, obviously included a few hits against a tough lefty pitcher yesterday. Anything else that it stands out in having him on your team as opposed to just managing against him so far?
From a mental standpoint, it's a lot easier. He was a guy that gave us trouble. And if he was on base, he even gave you more trouble. I used to look across the field. This was a guy that could change the game in a lot of ways, and you had to be concerned about what he was going to do next. So it's really great having him on our side and not having to worry about that.
Jorge.
You have a DH today. Is that something you anticipate doing, once in a while with
Yeah. I think with the outfielders, I can do that. I ran him out there, 5 days in a row in the field, DH day, and, I try to run him out this whole streak is what I'm trying to do, and this kind of helps me.
You've gotten more than you probably could have expected out of Solarte. Is there any worry about overexposing him, or you just want to run him as much as you can while he's hot and while you need him and the
No,
chair
I'm
is
going
out?
to play him while he's playing well. And as long as he's physically okay, I'm going to keep running him out there because of what he's doing.